Okay, so before getting started, I just wanted to let you know that all of Dr. Winston's videos will be coming from his books, with the majority of his content coming from the book that Microsoft asked him to write. His 2019 Data Analysis and Business Modeling book. This is Microsoft's best-selling Excel book in the world, and you can see here, based on the reviews, that it's an extremely popular book. Dr. Winston's Marketing Analytics book covers all things marketing analytics and has been one of the best-selling books on the topics, as you can see here also by the 105 reviews. Finally, his Analytics Stories book covers real-world problems and he solves them using Excel. It is his newest book, but has perfect reviews thus far. So why am I telling you all of this? First of all, if you just watch all of the content, you will be getting a world-class education. Dr. Winston created the Excel course for Harvard, and virtually every business school in the world uses his books. If you go into the description below, there will be links to download the before and the after Excel files. No email is required, they're direct download links, and downloading the file will help you follow along. Also, if you like the content, then like, comment, and subscribe. This will help you be notified in the future, and it really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. It'll help students like you to see new content. Finally, please ask questions. Just leave a comment with your questions and we'll try to help answer. We really want you to learn and understand the content of these videos. With all that being said, let's get started.
In our first two videos, we're going to introduce you to the basics of writing formulas in a spreadsheet in Excel and copying formulas. Many of you know this stuff, but it's still helpful, I think, to start at the beginning. So a spreadsheet has rows. I think there are 2 to the 20th rows in Excel. If you have 2,700 or 1,048,000 rows. And for columns, there are 2 to the 14th available in Excel. And that, in most cases, that's enough for you. But if you work for a big company, you may see data sets that have more than 1 million rows of data. But we'll assume that most of your spreadsheets fit within these limits. Okay, so we want to start in this video with 3 simple problems. Okay, so we have people work for a bakery. Tricia Lopez worked 49 hours this week, got paid $10 an hour. We want to find out the total amount that she got paid for the week. So we want to take what's in column C and multiply it times column D. And we want to do this for each person. Now, you know, if you had a calculator, you might do this manually for each person, and that would be horrible. But the Excel copy command makes this a snap. So you just set it up for one person. You'd start Excel formulas with equal. You take the hours that Tricia works times the wage per hour. And you can see what that yields is 49 times 10, or $490. Okay. Now, for Will Wong, you could type equal C5 times D5, but that's sort of silly. What you want to do, if you know anything about Excel, is sort of copy this formula. In other words, the idea is you're taking the number 2 columns to the left times the number 1 column to the left. And as long as you're doing that in each row, you can copy the formula down. Now, probably the easiest way to copy the formula is move the mouse basically and get the crosshair in the bottom left-hand corner. Hold down the left mouse button and drag it. I mean, it's actually not quite the easiest way. We'll show you another way in a second. Okay, but that gets you every person's salary. In other words, this is now C9 times D9. When you copy down and across, if you don't $sign a letter or number, we'll get to that later, then basically you copy down, the number changes, copy across the letter changes for the column. Now, if I want to average the salaries, I start typing, there's a function for that, start typing the word average, AV. Now it gets to average. You can double click the left mouse and get autocomplete. And now to point to this range, you start at the first cell, hold down the left mouse and just drag it down. You could do that. Okay, there's another way I'll show you. We don't want to show too many new things at once. But that's your average salary. Okay, let's go on to the next example. So we want to know the cost of producing a cake. Okay, the cost is per cubic inch, and the volume of a cake. Now I want to boldface this, so a little trick. If you want to boldface the whole spreadsheet, you click on the upper left-hand corner here, and do Control B. Upper left-hand corner means what you do from that point on applies to the whole spreadsheet. And that would go like this. Okay, so now the volume of the cake is pi times the radius squared times the height. Okay. So how do I do pi? Well, there's in Excel, pi 3.1416. There's pi, left parentheses, right parentheses. In other words, if I put that in an Excel like this, I get pi like that. So if I want to take pi, now I'm going to take it times the radius at the diameter divided by 2. Asterisk is multiply, I should say. So I take the diameter divided by 2. Now, how do you raise it to a power? You put caret 2, you'll square it, times the height. Okay. Now, the problem is, when I copy this down, I don't want that D10 to change. I want it to stay as D10. So I can dollar sign this. Now, F4 key lets you cycle through dollar signs. I'm hitting F4 key. I want those dollar signs. Because if I don't dollar sign those, the D10 changes to D11, the D11 to D12, which is a disaster. Okay, now hierarchy of operations, Excel will raise to power first before it does division and multiplication. So it'll take this in parentheses divided by 2 will get squared, okay, times the height. And so that cake so we got 16 times 4. Oh, we forgot to multiply by the cost per cubic inch. Okay, so that was the volume. Now that will be the height. Sorry, we've got the volume here, and we've got to multiply by the cost per cubic inch, and that is the cost of each cake. Okay, now one more example here. Let's suppose our bakery buys sugar, butter, and flour from suppliers. The quantity they buy is going to be, for example, 364 pounds of sugar from supplier 1, etc. We want to figure out the total amount that basically we bought, that we spent on buying each input to our products, sugar, butter, and flour, from each supplier. So we can just do it for one supplier of one product. It would be what I pay per pound of sugar from supplier 1 times what I buy. Now I just can copy this across and down, okay? Because I want it to be F5 times F14. In other words, there's a pattern there. In other words, what I'm taking is really, if you think about it, what's 18 rows above my cell times what's 9 rows above my cell, and that's what I want to repeat. Now, how do you copy a formula across and down? There's a couple of ways to do it. So one way, this should be, is to drag it across and then drag it down. So I can go like this. Okay. And then if I grab all 3 at the same time and get the cross in the lower right-hand corner, okay, I can get it like that. Okay, that's fine. Now, suppose I want to get the total amount that basically I spent buying each product and from each supplier. Then I'll do the copy a different way. I would just do a sum function, left paren, then point to this range. I want the total amount I spent on sugar. I want to add up that column. Hold down the left mouse. And if I want to widen a column, I can just double click at the top. And it'll widen a column as little as possible to show all the data in that column. If you select a range of columns at the top, it'll widen all the columns. Okay, like that. Now let me copy that formula again, do it a different way. Okay. You can do Control C to copy a formula, select the range where the copied formula goes, and do Control V. Okay, so I can select this formula, Control C, I get the flashing lines, which I call moving ants. Now I select this range where it's going, and I do Control V, and see that copy. That's a bit more efficient, I think. Or I can drag it across and drag it down. I really don't care. Okay, well, I think that's enough for our first video. We've shown you how to use dollar signs. Don't forget that. Okay. When you dollar sign a letter, and we'll see in a couple of minutes, sometimes you don't dollar sign both the number and the letter. You may dollar sign the letter or the number or neither. As they say in poker, the key to poker is to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Probably the most important key in Excel is to know when to dollar sign and know when not to dollar sign. When you dollar sign a letter, and when you move across, the column will stay fixed. When you dollar sign a number, as you move down, the row will stay fixed. And we'll see more about this throughout our videos, but particularly in the next two examples.
So thanks for watching. We really hope you're enjoying our Excel videos. And over the next several years, we'll be releasing our complete library of Excel training onto our YouTube channel. But if you don't want to wait for years, then I wanted to talk to you a bit about the master course Dr. Winston has created. It's his life's work, and I wanted to talk to you about the benefits that you can receive from enrolling. The first thing is lifetime access. And lifetime access doesn't just mean you'll have a login forever, it means that you'll get to have access to all of the new content that Dr. Winston creates. So even though the course currently has more than 800 videos, Dr. Winston creates new content all the time. As Excel or as Microsoft, creates new functions and new functionality in Excel, Dr. Winston will create content that you will have access to. And you will also have access to all the new spreadsheets and all of the new videos that Dr. Winston creates. And what this will do is this will help you stay up to date with Excel. Next is there's a 60-day money back guarantee, right? This guarantee is a no questions asked guarantee. So if at any time within the first 60 days you're not completely satisfied, I will personally refund your money. You can email me, ryan@excelwithwayne.com. Also, there's a 50-question exam that you can take upon completion of the course. This will test how well you're retaining the knowledge of the videos. And if you pass that test with 70% or greater, then you'll get a certificate of completion. And the certificate looks like this. And if you look in the bottom left, once you receive a certificate, you can have a job recruiter or an HR manager. They can email us. They can email Dr. Winston, Wayne@excelwithwayne.com, and he will verify that you did in fact complete our course. The challenge with Excel courses is that there's no support, right? Normally you purchase the course and then you're on your own. But what if you have any questions? What if you don't understand things? And the benefit of our private Facebook group is that you don't just have to ask questions about our course, you can ask questions about your day-to-day Excel questions. Our group is called the Excel Mastermind, and you can see here there's more than 1,700 members that are more than happy to answer your questions. And this group is also only for students of Dr. Winston's. So you're going to have very, very, intelligent students, people that have invested in themselves, helping you answer your questions, as well as us. We also monitor the group. So as mentioned before, there's more than 800 videos in the course. There are currently, I believe, 811 videos. But going forward, we're always creating new content. And along with those videos, there's more than 1,500 downloadable Excel files. And the benefit of the downloadable files is that you get the before and the after file. And the benefit of having the after file is that you can follow along, right? And so all the formulas that Dr. Winston creates, you'll have in you'll be able to download them. Currently there's more than 75 hours of content, but again, going forward, Dr. Winston creates new videos all the time, and so that number is going to keep on increasing. So real quick, let's just talk about some of the issues with online training, and specifically online Excel training. The first one, as mentioned before, is there's no support, right? Like, what happens if you have a question? What happens if you don't understand something about the course? Or what happens if you don't understand something in your day-to-day task? Because no matter what Excel course you purchase, they're not going to solve your exact problem, right? Because you're setting up your spreadsheet, you're in your own way, and things like that. So again, we solve that problem with our private Facebook group. So you can see it here again, the Excel Mastermind group. You can go to it. You won't be able to access it until you become a student, but you can go and you can sort of see, I mean, this is a real group on Facebook. The next issue, which is a pretty big issue with Excel, is that once you purchase most courses, actually all courses that I know of, they're not up to date. And what do I mean by not up to date? So Microsoft in the past 2 years, and really in the past 6 months, but let's use the past 2 years, they've really, really updated Excel, and they've added a ton of new functions and a ton of new functionality. And so if the courses are not adding new content as Excel or as Microsoft is releasing content, then you're really going to be left behind. So as you can see here, these are just a few of the functions that Microsoft has recently released. The MinFS, the MaxFS, XLOOKUP, which is probably the number one new function in Excel because it replaces the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP and index match. Um, the unique function, the filter function, sort, stock history, and then stock data types, geography data types, switch, ifs, etc. There's new charting functionality. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so again, if you're purchasing a course that is not staying up to date, then you're really going to be left behind. And what I mean by left behind is that you're not going to be as efficient in your spreadsheet tasks that you could be. Finally, it's the quality of the professor. And so this is where I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Winston. So the first thing you could do is just go over to Google and type in Wayne Winston. And you can see over here on the right side his Wikipedia page. You can see he went to MIT. You can see some of the books he made. You can go to Amazon, or you can go to, Kelly, which is the Kelly School of Business at Indiana University. You can go to his LinkedIn page. I mean, there's a lot of places you can go to just to see about Dr. Winston. Who is he? Another thing you could do is you could search for his books. Just go to Wayne Winston books and look at images. But you can see Microsoft's book 2019, 2016, 2010. I believe it goes back all the way to 2003, but I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure, but not 100% on that. So the main book that Dr. Winston has written is his 2019 book. When I say the main book, the most popular book. I mean, all of his books are very popular, but this is his most popular one, as you can see here, based on the reviews. And this is the book that Microsoft has asked Dr. Winston to write. And this is Microsoft's best-selling Excel book on the topic. His second popular book is called Marketing Analytics, and you can see again there's very good reviews on this. You can go to Amazon and you can see the reviews, and I would say go to Amazon and look at the bad reviews, because the bad reviews are talking about the shipping, like the book was messed up in shipping, or it doesn't include the downloadable files, but it actually does. They just didn't know how to find it. But this book covers all things marketing analytics. And his other book here is Analytic Stories. And this is a very interesting book because what Dr. Winston does with this is he solves real world problems using Excel and using analytics to show, some interesting things that have happened historically, and proving them, with Excel and with statistics in Excel. So instead of talking about the books that Dr. Winston has written, maybe the best thing to do, since Excel is a business tool, the number one business tool in the world, what about business schools? Very popular business schools. Like, so who trust him? Like, what are the top business schools in the world? So let's go to the first one, which would be Harvard here. And what you can see is they asked him to create their course. You can see on the one, two, three, the fourth link, you can see that in 2013, that is the spreadsheet course. I do believe there is a 2016 course, but I'm not 100%. And so yeah, they're using his books, Mathematics for Management. They're using his data analysis books in his courses and things like that. So Harvard's using them, but let's just look at some other schools, right? So the next one would be MIT. And you can see the syllabus of MIT is using his operations research book. You can see MIT OpenCourseWare is using his stuff, and the list goes on and on. But let's keep going. Let's not stop there, right? So Stanford is using his stuff, and I'm going to go a little bit faster just because there are a lot of universities here. So Stanford, right? You can see Wharton, which is a really popular finance school. If you're not familiar with it, has used this stuff, at least a couple years ago they did. And then you have Columbia in New York is using his books. NYU, also in New York, is using his material. You could go to Yale. And here's an interesting one, because this is IIT, which is in India, and it's the number one school in India. It's apparently the hardest university in the world to get into because like everybody applies to it, and it has a very, very low acceptance rate. But again, you can see they're using his book. And also here, this is the Indian Institute of Management, which is the number one business school in India. And you can see again, they're all using his content. And this is a school in China. It's SEIBS, and this is the number one business school in Asia, I believe. And they're also using his content. And then finally in Europe, INSEAD, which I am not 100%. I think it's in Switzerland. I could be wrong, but again, they are all using his book. So essentially, the number one business school in every country is using his book. In America, the top 10 or top five are using his books. And so Excel is a business software. Business schools are using his content, and so they all trust him, right? And the biggest sign of trust is that they're using his materials to teach their professors how to teach the subject of Excel, right? And also advanced analytics. Also, sort of just like a fun note about Dr. Winston is that he was also a two-time Jeopardy champion. And you can Google that, you can go to YouTube and you can watch him answer the questions. It's actually pretty funny. And so in his courses he does add a lot of trivia, and that's sort of makes it a little bit fun because we all know it's Excel, right? Like, how fun can Excel really be? So yeah, so that's some of the things I wanted to talk to you about. If you have any questions, just let us know. But if you did want to go and you wanted to invest in yourself, then you could go to excelwithwayne.com/course. And also, when you get to the site, if you just scroll down a bit, then you can see the syllabus here. And if you click on any of those syllabi, you will then be able to see the exact materials in that course. Because I'll go back one here, but you're not just getting one course, you're getting four courses. The top left one here, the complete Microsoft Excel course, that is from his book that he's been writing for Microsoft. And the marketing analytics book is from his marketing analytics book, or sorry, his marketing analytics course is from his marketing analytics book. And then his analytics stories course is from his analytics stories book. And then the Monte Carlo simulation with Palisades, that is a very advanced course, and you would need the at risk. You get the course, but you would need at risk, the add in, to be able to follow along to that. I mean, you could still, of course, watch the videos. It's just to follow along, you need to purchase the add-in. It is not included in the course. But again, if you click on any of the syllabi there, you would see something like this. And then if you click, the plus sign on any of the chapters, you would see every video that is included inside of that. So let's talk about the price of the course, right? So with Dr. Winston, let's step back. So let's talk about the price of an MBA. So this is where Dr. Winston teaches. And if you were to purchase this course, it's the equivalent of probably four MBA courses. And I can tell you this because I'm an MBA alumni of Dr. Winston's. And this is where he taught. He's retired, but you can see the prices here. And the price of the course is $397 for lifetime access. And what you will get with that is, again, everything we just talked about. And so you can compare the prices because it's essentially you're getting four college courses, which is 12 hours of college credit, and an MBA is about 48 hours. So you're essentially getting one fourth of an MBA from watching the content of Dr. Winston. And so finally, that's it. That's the pitch. And so if you have any questions, just let us know. Email us anytime, and you can email us at info@excelwithwayne.com. And yeah, thanks for watching, and really hope to see you in class.